one here today.
Tough one against a very good team that's coming along. Their best players are playing well. James Harden got into a great rhythm, especially in the fourth quarter. But the Raptors, they played hard.
The Raptors fail to contain Durant and the Nets as they fall short 116-103. Welcome to the Scotia Club inside Scotiabank Arena. I'm Randy Urban, and this is Raptors Night Cap. Tonight, joined once again by Paul Jones, Sherman Hamilton, and Amy Audibert. Tough one, guys, for me. Sherman, I'll start with you. The tide turned there in the third quarter. What did you see?
Well, you come out the locker room and you come out flat.
Yeah,
a team like Brooklyn can really make you pay. And, you know, you let them outscore you 35-17, I believe it was. That's going to be a tough uphill battle. And a team like that doesn't have as much of a punch coming off the bench, you've got to take advantage of that. And I really thought that in that third quarter when the bench came in, they played well for Brooklyn. The starters played well for Brooklyn. And nobody really, for the Raptors, I think, asserted themselves till later in the quarter. So a lot of the damage was done. But it's just a lesson in the early part of the season. You can't come out flat in that third quarter. You got to come out swinging, especially on your home court.
Well, I'm curious about this, Jonesy, because, you know that happens. Right. And you still do it. You can't do it against a team like Brooklyn. So why does that happen? How does that happen?
Halftime just kills your momentum. And the other guys go into the locker room and look and say, wait a minute, we're down 7 with all that we have in this locker room? I mean, that lead was gone. Like they called it, it took 2 minutes and 31 seconds for Brooklyn to take the lead in the third quarter. And it's one of those things, if you're the Raptors going to the locker room at halftime and you're up, what were they up, 7 points, 8 points? You're up 7, you're like, no, we don't want halftime. Let's just keep playing. Let's just keep playing because they're going to get to their chair. They're going to sit, and their corner man's going to go, what are you doing? You're the Brooklyn Nets. Let's go. Turn it. And, the second half, it's when you have guys like Durant and Harden, I always say it's like trying to hold water in your hands. You can only do it for so long. Harden had 16 in the fourth quarter. All of his histrionics, no fouls. He wasn't getting any of the calls. Then in the fourth quarter, he's like, okay, I guess I'm not getting those calls. I'll just play. And that's what happened.
I want to talk about that a little later on the show, actually. But, Amy, what did you see?
Well, KD had 4 points in the second quarter as well, and I think that was part of the issue, right? You knew at halftime that there was going to be an adjustment. Yeah. and it was funny because I talked to Adrian Griffin at halftime, and he said that. He was like, yeah, because I said, Coach, you held KD to 4 points in the second quarter. He's going to score, right? And he's going to score, but the issue is KD and James Harden both almost had triple-doubles, and then Blake Griffin had a monster double-double. So if you're not going to hit shots, you're not going to win that ball game, unfortunately. And it was just, again, and even Nick Nurse post-game, they missed 2 wide-open good-look threes, and they missed a wide-open dunk. That was how they started the second half. And again, like instead of being a tie game, you make those, you might be up 12. And so that was a huge couple minutes. We always talk about the first 5 minutes of a quarter or the first 3 to 5 minutes. And while they had time to recover against the Brooklyn Nets, they're a tough team.
It comes fast and furious, man. Yeah.
Well, you think about it, Kevin Durant with 13 in that third quarter, hands a baton to James Harden, and he gets 16 in the fourth quarter. Elite scorers that know how to close games out. And Kevin Durant's points in this game were right when the Nets needed them. It wasn't like he was just filling it up. They needed a bucket. They gave it to Kevin Durant. He found something for them. James Harden in the fourth quarter, they need a bucket, they gave it to him, and he found something. It's just elite scorers. You can't give them that many opportunities because they're deadly when they get going.
Well, and to Amy's point, Blake Griffin is a guy, he's going to stand out there, and you're going to say, okay, shoot the 3. Hey, he's making them.
Yeah.
And
he had tons of time.
Wait, I will say, though, that this is the problem with Brooklyn. Remember the wide open one he had, and Freddie was right beside him but didn't contest it because he was going to have to leave Joe Harris. Right. So it becomes a pick your poison. Right. And he hit the shot tonight, and that was kind of it.
The only poison is just stay with Joe Harris.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Let Blake make it. And when he does, you have to eat it, right?
Yeah, you got to almost pick who you're going to leave wide open, and that's the issue with the Brooklyn Nets is that you look at their roster and you're going, but we got to play good the whole time.
Yeah, you want to finish? What were you going to say?
No.
No. Jump over him.
Echo exactly what.
Ever apologize.
Echo exactly what these two are saying. I mean, we all watched the same game.
Yeah. Jonesy, I'll ask you then. Durant, he looks to me impossible to guard, and he is that way. He is that way. Is there a player that's in the NBA that it's that easy for? Like, it just seems so easy at all times. Is it something that the Raptors didn't do?
No, he's talented.
Yeah.
And he knows what's coming at him. It's not like you're going to surprise this guy with any kind of defense or he's not prepared for people that are going to push up on him. He made a couple of mid-range jumpers, and he made it look like he was in the gym working by himself. Like, hey, Randy, you want to guard me? I'm going to work on something here. You don't know what's coming. I know what I'm going to do, and it looks like a drill. Like, they run him off the line, punches in, gets to the nail, boom. And the Brooklyn Nets are one of the teams, and Steve Nash was asked about it before the game. The mid-range isn't making a big comeback, but these guys are taking that. They're one of the teams that leads the NBA in mid-range field goal attempts, mid-range field goal percentage. They're like, okay, you're going to run us off the line? We'll take those two.
Yeah.
We'll take those two. And you saw some of that.
We talked about Harden, too, filling it up and doing it different ways, not traditionally the way he has been doing it, like getting to the line, getting those calls. Sherman, can you just sort of explain to the people how the NBA has changed in that way, how they're calling guys like him?
Well, a guy like James Harden who really mucked it up for officials. He started to do that sweep-through thing, and he used to really put officials in a bad situation because they know it wasn't a natural movement, but there's contact every time. And he was getting to the free throw line off of it. So they peeled the free throw line back a couple seasons ago and say, we're not going to award you with free throws. It's going to be on the side. Now they're not even registering when you make an unbasketball-like movement to create a foul. So, but the great ones always adjust.
Yeah.
The great ones always figure out a way. It's like the police and the criminals. The criminals are always one
Trying
step
to be
ahead.
ahead. Trying to be a step ahead. Yeah.
And you look at James Harden, who he's going to have to adjust because there were times in this game where he was fouled, should have been side out, but they weren't even calling it.
It's gone the other way.
It's gone the other way.
He's got to go on. What happened?
So they're going to have to balance it out, but he's going to adjust it. He's going to figure out how to get his calls.
Like Sherm said, he's like, oh, I'm not getting those calls? All right, let's ball. Let's play then. I was trying to get a call. Like Fred said it last week in a Raptor Newser. He said, you got to play for the game. You got to play to score, not to get calls. And James Harden, he's going to realize, okay, I'm not getting those. No problem. I'm going to hurt you another way. I got all kinds of stuff in my bag here.
But the way that I will say for the Raptors, maybe the one thing to keep their glass half full is the way they've built their roster, and they can throw multiple bodies at Kevin Durant and James Harden. So I'm not saying it's gonna win you games, but it gives you a shot because you got to clean up communication because you might have to change your assignment almost every other time down the court. But they have different types of bodies that they can throw at those guys to try to not give them the rhythm. Didn't happen tonight, but I saw Scotty stick with Harden on his little shake late game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And, Harden still got the shot off. He missed it, but I was like, wow, like
Scotty
he stayed low.
Yeah.
He stayed low. He kept him in front. He shifted. He got his hands. He used his length, and it was like a nice little possession. And I think where other teams can't throw that challenge at Brooklyn because of the roster makeup for the Raptors, they can. Yeah.
I saw something I've never seen before with Kevin Durant tonight. He went to make a pass over somebody, and it got deflected. Scotty Barnes right at midcourt on the far side.
Yep.
He was standing there. It was kind of a double team. I don't know if it was
Fred's there.
It was Fred, and it was Scotty. He's like, I just pass over these things.
Yeah.
And he passed it, and Scotty deflected it, and it turned into a breakaway at the other end.
Yeah.
And Kevin Durant went, son of a gun.
Yeah.
Like, I never had that happen before.
I don't think that's how he said it.
Well, sorry. Family show, Amy. But when was the last time you saw Durant try to pass over somebody and get a pass deflected?
Yeah.
And that's to Amy's point about the roster.
Yeah. Let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk about Pascal. First game of the season for him. Sherm, what did you see from him offensively and defensively?
It was great to see the first shot go down.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. He's still looking fluid and rangy, and I think his mobility looked very good.
Very good.
We know that the timing and the touch and the ability to get to spots that you usually get to, but there is a move in the I think it was the fourth quarter where he attacked Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin cut him off. He went to that spin. Blake Griffin got to the spot, and he pivoted through, and he got to and one. It's like, okay, that's Pascal. When the wind is up, the timing is up, the condition is right with that three-point shot, I think we're going to see a bit of a different player, and that's going to be fun to watch because you need an unorthodox, different kind of approach offensively sometimes.
Yes.
And I think Pascal, with how this team is scouted, throws a monkey wrench into the scouting report if he comes back and does what we expect him to do.
I want to hear from all of you on this one. Amy, what did you think?
He just spoke about his time when he had to sit and watch the team, how he spent a lot of time paying attention to details. And
It happens, doesn't it? When you're on the bench.
Great perspective from there, honestly.
Yeah,
I know.
But he
That's a whole
he
career.
spoke about, that's why you're such a good mind. He spoke about, specifically about noticing coverages and where the doubles are coming from and watching film. And I think that that's going to pay dividends moving forward, right? Because when you have that whole other dimension as a player now, the way you approach your game prep, it changes because you're not just thinking of where's the help defense, you're thinking of where the help is coming weak side or who might be open. And I mean, obviously it wasn't a flawless game for anybody, but I thought Pascal, he looked pretty good. I mean, for a guy that's basically said his biggest concern was his conditioning, I thought they did great with his minutes at 25. And when he was out there, I didn't see too many things that were pretty flawed.
I like the fact that they had a guy they could give the ball to and he could get into the lane. And all of a sudden now the defense has to collapse. They have to honor that. You can pitch it out. They've got to rotate. You can find shooters. I thought the other night when Cleveland slowed them down, you know, you take a three, they kind of slow it down, and they're going for two. And then you run up to the other end, you take a three, they take their time. All of a sudden you go, wait a minute, why are we shooting so quickly when they're taking their, and the pace of the game changes. And the Raptors didn't have anybody to get into the lane or break things down for Cleveland to have to rotate, and they could pitch it out. Pascal was that guy tonight. You saw him take the ball, drive it, create stuff, and then pitch it out, and it helped.
His handle, Sherm, too, look tight.
He's been in the lab.
Tight. Yeah.
He's been in the lab.
You gotta start from scratch when you're, rehabbing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he's put work in. You can see that he's put work in. And again, for Pascal, it's just about, as we all know, when you're coming back from injury, it's the next morning. How do you feel the next morning after you've put it through a real game? You know, are you mobile? Are you feeling like, okay, this is okay? And beyond that, the work that he's put in is going to come to the forefront if he's healthy at some point, right?
Yeah. All right, guys, that was great stuff. You know about injuries and coming back from them. I know about sitting on the bench.
They all have different vantage points.
Is that why they call you the judge? Because you sit on the bench?
Yeah, that's right. You got that right. Jonesy. All right, we got to stop you there. Next game for the Raptors goes Wednesday night in Boston, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We will see you then.